Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tales, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, and shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag too late. Now let's get into today's tale. I never thought I'd be the one painted as the villain. But here I am, isolated, hated, and drowning in guilt for defending myself. It all started with one punch. One moment where I finally snapped after years of silent torment. People say I'm cruel, heartless, even for what I did to Dylan, a boy with autism. But they don't know the full story. They don't know what I lived through, and they certainly don't know what it feels like to be trapped in someone else's obsession, day after day. Dylan and I had known each other since nursery school. He always had behaviors. He clung to me even then, but it was brushed off because of his autism. I didn't think much of it at the time. But as we grew up, it became clear that his fascination with me wasn't just innocent childhood attachment. He fixated on me in ways that made me deeply uncomfortable. He'd tell people I was his girlfriend, even though I'd turned him down gently, repeatedly. But no never seemed to mean no to him. By the time we were 11, his behavior took a darker turn. He started making comments about my body, staring, saying things that made my skin crawl. He'd ask to touch me, beg even. When I refused, he'd get upset, meltdowns, tantrums, and then I'd get blamed for setting him off. His friends would pressure me too, claiming he deserved a chance because of his condition, like I was obligated to give him affection he hadn't earned. Then, in year 7, around 6th grade, Dylan crossed the line. He groped me. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't confusion, it was deliberate. I reported it, I told teachers, I cried in front of them, shaking, desperate for help. But all I got were sympathetic smiles and excuses. He doesn't understand, they'd say. It's part of his autism. And then they'd thank me for being such a good friend to him, a good person. Like suffering in silence was a virtue. But it didn't stop there. It kept happening again and again for 4 years. Dylan grabbed me without consent. Sometimes it was my chest, other times my butt, always without warning, always forceful. I would cry, plead, beg him to stop, but he never did. He acted like I was his, like my only purpose was to fulfill his emotional needs, to stay within, reach for him to touch whenever he pleased. He became jealous if I so much as spoke to another guy. And if I didn't play the role he wanted, cue the meltdown. Cue the school blaming me for not understanding his condition. I can't even explain. The pain, the shame, the isolation. I wasn't allowed to be my own person. I was Dylan's emotional crutch, his fantasy girlfriend, his target. Then, one day, everything boiled over. It was hot out. I wore a skirt, something I rarely did anymore because of him. I was sitting with some friends when he came up behind me and shoved his hands up my skirt. He groped me hard again, and something inside me broke. I spun around and punched him square in the nose. It cracked, blood poured. He collapsed. And in that single moment, I felt something I hadn't in years. Relief. But the fallout came fast. The school slapped me with a 2-month isolation penalty for bullying a disabled student. They didn't care what he'd done. Didn't care that I'd suffered in silence for years. They saw a violent act against an autistic boy and rushed to protect him. No one cared that he's 16 now, not some helpless child. No one cared that he acts completely normal around his friends, that he treats others with respect, just not me. Now I'm the one being vilified. I've been receiving death threats. Strangers have told me that I deserved what happened. Some even said he should have done worse. It's sick. It's like I'm being punished for protecting myself. I can't stop second-guessing everything. Should I have been more patient? More understanding? Should I have just accepted it? Maybe I was his only chance, like people said, but no, that's wrong. It was never my job to fix him or be his emotional outlet. And for the record, I don't hate autistic people. I know this isn't about autism. It's about him. Dylan isn't the face of autism. He's just a deeply entitled and abusive person who hid behind his diagnosis. I'm saying this now because no one else has listened. Thank you for hearing me out. Since then, a few things have happened. My parents are finally trying to help. They've started looking into hiring a lawyer, something I was too scared to ask for before. I thought no one would believe me, but now, my extended family has stepped in. They're helping cover legal costs. I've also left that school. I'm staying with my grandmother now, far from Dylan, far from the whispers and the stares. My aunt is paying for therapy, which I'll be starting soon. I need it more than I can express. This trauma doesn't just disappear. But your kindness, the comments, the support, it matters. Truly. If nothing else, I hope that anyone out there reading this knows you're not alone. There's so much more to say, but I'll end with this. I finally believe I'm not the villain. I'm a person, and I'm finally reclaiming that. Thank you. From the deepest part of my heart. Thank you. The support you've shown me since I posted my story has been overwhelming in the best possible way. I never expected so many people to listen, to believe me, to stand beside me when I felt so incredibly alone for so long. I've tried to respond to as many comments as I could. I truly did. But they just kept coming. Messages of support, advice, empathy. And I couldn't keep up. Still, I read them all, every single one. Whether it was a kind word, a piece of advice, or someone just saying, "I hear you," they've all stayed with me. Now, I want to address a few questions that kept coming up. So here's a sort of FAQ for those who reached out and for those who might be wondering the same things. First, the suggestion to move in with another family member. Believe me, I've thought about it. I've begged for it. But all of my relatives live more than 100 miles away, and none of them really believe that what I'm going through is serious. They think it's just typical sibling stuff, or that my mom knows best. They don't see the bruises, they don't hear the screams. So for now, that option is off the table. Then there's the question of getting my money back. Many of you told me that since I'm the card holder, I should be able to report the unauthorized charges and recover my money. I wish it were that simple. But because I'm a minor, I need a legal guardian to go with me to the bank and authorize any dispute process. And my mom, she's not going to do that. She's the one who let it happen in the first place. And finally, the big one, why don't I just hit my brother back? I wish you could see me. I'm barely 5 tall. I'm 14. I'm not strong. My brother Zane is 16 and over 6 feet tall, built like a wall. If I fought back, I'd only end up more hurt than before. And worse, my mom would punish me for it, just like she always does, confiscating my things, blaming me for setting him off. There is no justice in our house, only survival. To those who messaged me privately offering financial help, thank you. I'm incredibly touched. I really am. But I've made peace with the fact that this isn't just about money. Yes, losing the $400 I saved for 2 years hurts. That Lego set wasn't his to take. But the deeper wound is everything that came before and after. The daily assaults, the bruises, the way I'm punished for being the victim. No amount of money can erase the feeling of being voiceless in your own home. So here's my plan. After reading hundreds of your comments, your advice, and your stories, many of which were eerily similar to mine, I've decided I'm going to do something. I've collected video evidence. I've documented the bruises on my arms. And this Wednesday, I'm walking straight out of school and heading to the police station. I'm scared. Terrified, actually. But this has gone on too long. Someone needs to listen. Someone outside of my house. Someone who won't be swayed by my mom's excuses or my brother's fake innocence. I'm hoping the videos and photos I've saved will finally show them what words have failed to. I don't know what will come of it. Maybe they'll believe me. Maybe they won't. But at least I'll know I tried. At least I'll know I stood up for myself. And for those of you who might still be following my story, thank you again. I saw 3 different TikTok videos pop up today about this story. That's insane that people are actually talking about this, sharing it. It blows my mind. If you're new here and want to hear more real stories like mine, ones that are raw, honest, and unfiltered, please hit subscribe and tap the notification bell. These stories aren't easy to tell, but they deserve to be heard. And if you're someone out there who's been silenced by fear, by family, by shame, I want you to know you're not alone. Your story matters. And one day, your voice will shake the walls of the people who tried to quiet it. Thank you for being part of mine. This story offers a powerful, heartbreaking reminder of the importance of boundaries, belief, and justice, especially when those who are vulnerable are left unprotected by the very systems and people meant to safeguard them. At its core, this is a story about a young person who endured years of abuse under the shadow of a condition, autism, that was wrongly used as a shield to excuse deeply harmful behavior. It shows us how society often struggles to balance compassion for those with disabilities and accountability for their actions. The message is not one of blame toward a condition, but a clear call to recognize that harmful behavior, regardless of the person's background or diagnosis, still causes real trauma and demands real consequences. Another crucial lesson is the importance of listening to victims, especially young ones. Too often, cries for help are brushed aside because the abuser has power, status, or sympathy. The story reminds us that silence, inaction, and enabling can be just as harmful as the abuse itself. It also emphasizes the value of self-worth and courage, how speaking out, even when terrifying, is a radical act of reclaiming dignity. Finally, it highlights the role of community, even when family and institutions fail. Sometimes strangers on the internet, kind words from unknown voices, or the offer of help from those who've lived through similar pain can be the first step toward healing. We must remember that trauma doesn't always wear a visible face, and justice is not about who speaks the loudest. It's about who has been silenced the longest. Believe victims, support them, and never confuse survival with strength. It takes immense courage just to keep going. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to this powerful and emotional story. Stories like this remind us that behind every post, every comment, and every screen is a real person, fighting battles we may never fully understand. If you found value in this video, whether it made you feel seen, helped you reflect, or simply opened your eyes to a different perspective, please comment one below to let us know. Your support truly matters. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that matters. If this story moved you in any way, give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And most importantly, share your feelings in the comments. What did this story make you think about? How did it make you feel? Your voice adds to the healing, the awareness, and the community we're building here.